Good evening, everyone. I'm Prachi Singhal, Program Director for Power from Zone Startups India. On behalf of all partners, Department for International Development, DFID UK Government, Shell Foundation, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and Zone Startups India, a very warm welcome to the launch event of Power. We're really excited about the launch, and I hope you are too. Are you? Yes. Perfect. Let's broadcast the energy in the room to the outside world. We are tweeting about the event on Twitter and Facebook using the hashtag Women in Energy, Energy for All, and Equal Energy. Our social media handles are powered.org for Facebook and powered-in for Twitter. Please do join us there. I know we all had a hot afternoon, so without further ado, I now invite Ajay Ramasubramaniam, Director India at Zone Startups India, for welcoming us all to the event. Ajay, please.
Thanks, Prachi. Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Let's have some energy. Yeah, great. So this is something exciting and really new for us. So how many of you who have been here at this space before? Many have, few haven't. So just for the interest of those who haven't been here, so we operate, so as Zone Startups, we are headquartered in Toronto, Canada, and been operating in India for the past 4 years. We basically operate in the broader space of innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, and we manage accelerators under our own brand, as well as we do corporate accelerators. But this is something really new because a lot of things that we have been known for, that we have been doing, is broadly around technology and innovation. Whereas this is unique not only for us, but I think from a global standpoint. So you would have heard of programs focused on women entrepreneurs, you would have heard of programs focused on the energy sector, but combining these two, creating a first of its kind or one of its kind program to meet twin sustainable development goals of energy entrepreneurship focused on women entrepreneurs who are building businesses across the value chain is something that is really exciting and really new. And because we are probably starting out with a clean slate, there are a lot of things that we could experiment, iterate, and do to kind of build momentum around creating an ecosystem for women entrepreneurs who are building ventures to cater to the energy access problem. Now, sustainable energy is a major human development enabler. And in general, it would be impossible to achieve many of the sustainable development goals, even if you go by categories or domains, whether it is in agriculture, whether it's in terms of livelihood, whether it's in terms of smart cities, urban transportation, many of these areas which in isolation are big problems in themselves, but energy has a very important role to play in one or many of these. For many of us, probably energy just equates to power, but probably power is just one area within the broader realm of what energy stands for. So, if you look at global studies done around energy entrepreneurship, and improvement in the state of energy overall, so when you consider it from the standpoint of design, development, manufacturing, consumption, women have a very strong or a pivotal role to play in it. At the same time, the number of women entrepreneurs who might be in the broader area of energy entrepreneurship is significantly low. If you, just from a context perspective, a couple of years back when we started out one of our programs focused on women entrepreneurs called Empower, the hypothesis that we worked on was that maybe the number of women entrepreneurs is extremely low. However, we surprised ourselves when we got not only in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the quality of applications that came in. So keeping gender aside, in terms of the kind of problems they were solving, the kind of scalability, we kind of proved ourselves correct, or our hypothesis was also kind of taken to a next level where we were able to build a program and grow on it. And that's where our first kind of port of call with Shell Foundation began, where from a quality standpoint or in terms of numbers standpoint, trying to find women entrepreneurs doing really remarkable work on the ground in India is not a question mark. However, at the same time, to find out the same number of passionate women entrepreneurs who are solving addressable problems in the broader energy space is something that we've taken up as a challenge, and that's why we are not calling this as an accelerator. We are kind of broadening the scope of what Powered stands for as a program, and here we are today for the launch. I'd like to acknowledge some significant people in the audience. I'll begin with Sam Parker, Director Shell Foundation. We have Nishan Bharadwaj, Energy Specialist from DFID India. We have Deepak Goyal and Anuradha Bhavnani, who are kind of cornerstones of the work that we're doing here, but they're hidden right behind in the audience. And you'll hear from most or all of these folks during the course of this. With this, I'd like to invite Sam, Nishan, Deepak, and Anuradha for doing something which will spread some energy in the room, and that would be lighting of the lamp. So it is symbolic, but at the same time, because we're talking of energy and power being, or light being one part of it, we would like to begin with this. So please, if you could come on board.
Still.
Okay, so people in the room. Okay, I thought that there's a video to be played before I go on to my text. Okay, there's a small trivia that we would like to kind of go ahead with. There are 3 questions, and people who get answers right, or at least somewhere close by to the answer, we'll announce something special towards the end of it. What is the size of the population in the country which doesn't have access to power? You're all energy enthusiasts in the room, or somewhere closely related. What size of population in the country doesn't have access to power? Okay, we have got one answer which is very close, so we'll take that. Okay, we take that. Fine. What percentage of women in rural India make purchase decisions with respect to energy use? What percentage of population? Sorry? No. No. No.
25%.
That's more like closer to it. So everyone did a lot of underestimation. So it was close to 60%. So the actual is 54, and for the earlier one, the answer is 240 million. So these are all reports that are generated by organizations focused on energy access. So not numbers that we could dispute. It would be somewhere close by or in the range. So we'll come to what are the prices are, and these are something which is really special. It is not a token of appreciation, but something which will also impact someone else somewhere. Now, with that, so as a part of the program, with the honored guests that we have with us, the partners that we have with us, and the panel that we are going on to, so typically you would see that when someone lights a lamp and there's a program being launched, you would hand over bouquets of flowers, there would be a certificate or whatever. We thought let us try and do something a little bit different, because the program is about energy, it's about entrepreneurship, it's about improving the lives of people and livelihood. We thought that a good thing or a good gesture to do would be, alongside the lighting of the lamp, which brought some light in this room, let us try and light 40 unelectrified homes and bring light to their lives. So this is something that we are taking up as a challenge, or in Deepak's words, it's not a challenge, but we try and create some kind of a benchmark ourselves. So we're beginning with 40 homes that we are trying to kind of electrify, and during the course of the year, we are going to run a campaign and try and see how many more homes we could light up. We have our partners in it. One of the startups which was incubated accelerator right here, Pico Energy. So they are partners for this initiative, and through the year we'll kind of see how many more homes we can go after. So with that, I'll pass it back to Prachi, who can do the honors.
Thank you. Thanks, Ajay. So I request Sam Parker, Director of Shell Foundation, to take the stage and shed some light on the need of the program from a global perspective. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Ajay for hosting. It's great to be in this amazing office where you can start up a business and get listed without even leaving the building, which is incredible. First of all, I have to explain how on earth I'm here. I still don't believe I am really. When Deepak said, there's a launch event, Sam, you must be here, I said, well, I absolutely cannot be there that week because I got too many other things. And then he said, well, you really must be. So I ended up, he says it's to do with women entrepreneurs, it's to do with energy access, and it's to do with India. And those three things said, well, I have to be there. So I managed to, I'm here for less than a day. I've never done that before. So my family, that is my wife and my children, and my colleagues think I'm crazy and should be sectioned and put away. But it was so important for me to be here because of the confluence of those three things. I lead the Shell Foundation, and for those of you who don't know, we are an independent charity, and we dedicate ourselves to working with entrepreneurs and building investable businesses, which really help to reach the SDGs. In our case, we focus on two key areas. One is energy access, and one is access to sustainable, affordable, and safe mobility. And I guess listening to Ajay saying who pointing out individuals in the room, I would say first and foremost, I'd like to sort of say a warm welcome to the entrepreneurs in the room. I live working with entrepreneurs, and that's what we do. And I happen to have the most massive respect for entrepreneurs because they lead the most impossible lives. Those of you that are entrepreneurs, you will know that it's the moment you wake up, the moment you go to bed, there are challenges and problems. And every day the problems get bigger and the challenges get bigger, and you just get better and better and better at solving them. But I think that if you look across the sort of whole range of human endeavor, particularly those of us that are dedicated to trying to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, I think the secret army are the army of entrepreneurs. They're difficult people to find. Actually, they're difficult people to work with, I have to say. So don't worry if you find yourself having endless fights with your colleagues. That's the nature of an entrepreneur. Someone who's got this burning desire to fix a problem, doesn't quite know what the solution is, but has an inkling of what it is and needs a lot of help. And what we do is we work with entrepreneurs from really very early stage and help them through their journey. And that journey is a tough one. It's a tough one because you're fighting things all around you. You're fighting, trying to figure out what the solution is, trying to find your next round of funding, trying to build your team, trying to work with governments, trying to work with your finance team, trying to work with the consumers, trying to work with a world that doesn't understand you and understand what you're doing. And it really is an extraordinary thing. But we are very proud that we do find and we do fund and we do partner with entrepreneurs that do actually make it, and they do make a difference in the lives of millions of people and not in the lives of just thousands of people. So what I wanted to do today is just explain a little bit about why I'm here, why we got involved with Powered, and our hopes and aspirations, I guess, from the day. Going back a few years, we've been working in energy access and market solutions to energy access for about 15 years. And about 3 or 4 years ago, a venerable minister of the British government called Grant Shapps, just about the time when they were renewing the SDGs, do you remember in 2015 when the MDGs finished and the SDGs started? The UK government really got a grip to the fact that energy access was a real enabler to multiple SDGs. And Grant Shapps really fomented a renewed interest in energy. And they were looking around for who out there is working in energy access. And as it happens, we've been working for about 15 years, and so we ended up starting a partnership with Diffin. And that partnership's now been going for 2 or 3 years, and that's at a global level, really focusing on Africa, Central America, and India. And essentially, we share a common view that to get sustainable businesses really helping to reach the SDGs, you need to take a holistic approach to it. So you've got to build businesses, but you've also got to build what we call market enablers. That's the organizations that build the environment around those businesses. You've also got to build the financial intermediaries that are going to provide all the different types of finance for those growing companies. And you've also got to build the institutional environment, in other words, the policy and the regulation. And if you don't do all of those things at once, you're not going to get a successful market. Now, it would be a lot simpler if you didn't have to do all that. But we learned over the 15 years we were working in that you do. So our efforts working with DFID across the globe are we're building a portfolio now of green energy companies and mobility companies. we've reached about 55. We have a portfolio of 55 companies. A lot of those are across Africa, and about 20 of them are now active in India. And the interesting thing about the Indian market is, and this is not just, I'm not saying this just because I'm in Mumbai, but it's genuinely from the heart. There's a DNA about India which is not necessarily there in other continents. Now, don't ask me to explain why that's the case, but it is the case. And a lot of the innovation, a lot of the entrepreneurship actually is born here. And a lot of the solutions and companies that we've been supporting over the years have started here and moved to Africa and moved to other parts of Asia and even moved to Latin America. Now that's a very important point, because what you're doing here really is firing up that fire to make sure that that entrepreneurial instinct that exists in India is going to be flourished. It can continue to flourish. So that's one observation from a relative outsider as to why we're excited by India. So we woke up one day and we found that there was 20 of our portfolio companies operating in India. So we decided we needed to make it much more of an Indian type program and portfolio. So we invited some distinguished and experienced people from the Indian world, the sector, to form an advisory council. And I'd like to call out Samir Shah, who's sitting in the room here, who's on our advisory board. And him, together with about 6 or 7 other people we've invited to guide our work in order that it becomes more for India, by India, in India, because in the end of the day, the world is changing. And what does a UK-based charity foundation do to support India is very different today than what perhaps a UK-based foundation would have done 20 years ago. So we're very much here as facilitators to help, if you like, address some of the barriers to entrepreneurship that might be here. But fundamentally, this is an Indian program. So about 2 years into the partnership with DFID, there was a conversation with someone, I'm not quite sure where it happened, but I guess it probably would have been in Delhi, between someone from DFID India who was particularly interested in the whole aspect of women entrepreneurship. And as it happened, we had also just got to the point where, as we were looking across the portfolio, we'd found ourselves reaching, I think, 85 million households across Africa and India with improved energy access. But there's 1.2 billion in the world still with no power. So we were figuring out how can we accelerate this process such that the entrepreneurs can grow faster. And we began to see that the whole issue of thinking about women and girls was much more fundamental than we ever imagined. And what do we mean by that? We observed that those companies that were thinking about their products and services very much from the perspective of what meets the needs of women and girls, bearing in mind that in terms of mobility and energy, in many cases, women and girls are within the family those that suffer most from the lack of access to energy and mobility. So we started noticing that those companies that were really taking a gender lens in their products and services, and then working backwards from there, those companies that were using women in the sales force, those companies that were using women in the senior management, those companies with a higher percentage of women on the boards, began to show evidence that they were actually providing better business results and business growth. So we set about, with an organization called Value for Women, we have set about starting to research across our portfolio how the impact of taking a gender lens actually impacts business performance. And just this year, we have the early results we're beginning to collect are showing that we're getting 70 to 80% improvements in sales in some companies, for example. We're getting much higher efficiency from the cost efficiency of the sales forces. We're getting an over 30% reduction in time from call centers, which are customer service call centers. And we're also getting much more productivity, if you like, where you have women in leadership positions, and we're actually in the process of measuring that. And you'll find we're about to publish something on the results of that survey now. So the net effect of that is that we genuinely believe that in order to accelerate energy access across the world, all of us need to understand how to support women entrepreneurship more effectively and more efficiently. So when we had an opportunity to partner with DFID, sort of as a development from our sort of London-based partnership, if you like, to work on how to empower women entrepreneurs in India. Of course, it was an absolute no-brainer for us, and it was a huge opportunity for us to put our portfolio of companies at the disposal of the program, where we could actually work on these issues together with DFID. And I'm very pleased that we managed to work out a partnership, which is in India, focusing on three main things. So the wider powered program is three main things. First of all, it's the creation of jobs for women. So there's already a deal with an organisation, a last mile distribution company called Dharma Life, that we're supporting to reach village level entrepreneurs, female village level entrepreneurs, which is effectively an opportunity to create livelihoods. Secondly, to support 15 early stage companies, which is what this is about. And thirdly, it's the support of the building 100 women-led micro entrepreneurs. So all of those three strands was a 50-50 joint partnership between the Shell Foundation and DFID, starting off with a budget of £4 million, where we basically partner up to support those three strands of work, and how we've already started. So we've started on the job side with Dharma Life already with, I think, 200, even in the first couple of months, we've created several hundred jobs. In the micro-entrepreneur section, we're working with a company already called SMV, which is helping women own their own e-rickshaws, which is, I think, based, correct me if I'm wrong, back in Bangalore. No, it's in Varanasi. Thank you. So we're working with, in the area of mobility with women entrepreneurs. And finally today, which is, we're very honoured to be part of this launch event, where we're going to be supporting the incubation and acceleration of women-led startups, and that's what I think we're seeing going on here. So to finish, I'd say that first of all, we're very, very happy to be part of this. We're totally committed to helping the world, and India in particular, reach its energy targets. If you really think about it, step back and think about it, there's no reason in the world why in 2018 there's not already universal access to power. Those of you that have an opportunity to go out into the deep rural areas, and you see the darkness, and it is very, very impactful, and you see the difference that it makes in lives, even at the entry-level energy, is quite astonishing, and we as a foundation are committed to helping the world achieve that SDG 7 within the next 12 years, so we haven't got a lot of time. This is not theory. We have to help the world achieve that target in 12 years. So we're very pleased to be behind that challenge. We're very pleased to be working with you, Ajay, and your team here in this part of the program. We're very honoured to be part of, continue to deepen our partnership with DFID, and very much looking forward to hearing from the entrepreneurs. I have to finish by saying, women entrepreneurship has been around for centuries, and the idea that this in any way is creating women entrepreneurship is obviously complete nonsense. I think what we're talking about here is we're helping to release that power into the specific challenge of energy access and mobility access. With today, there are a lot more technology that can be leveraged, a lot more innovation around business models than ever existed before. So I think really what we're talking about is making that available to this particular challenge of energy access, and we're very proud to be part of that. So thank you, Ajay, for having me here, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sam, for stressing the need for a program like Powered. In a report by UNDP, it is written that, according to some estimates, in energy sector, women represents only 6% of technical positions, 4% of decision-making positions, and 1% of top management positions. With that in mind, I now invite Nishan Bharadwaj, energy specialist from DFID India, to share some perspectives on the overall energy sector. Nishan, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ajay. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the UK government. I work as an energy specialist for Department for International Development. And those who don't know about DFID, DFID is a bilateral funding agency which is promoting sustainable development and work towards eradicating poverty. Thank you, Sam, for saying all that what you said. You made my life very easy. You said everything that I wanted to say. I have with me the notes given by my colleagues to say, and they told me not to digress from these points, but I think I have to digress now from what I wanted to say. But I think it's a unique opportunity. I think Powered is a right initiative. In the start, somebody mentioned that there are 240 million people without access to electricity. I think it's a huge challenge for all of us, that how do we provide this power to 240 million people, which is about 50 to 60 million households across the country. India is going through a massive energy transformation, and that transformation is happening because of certain reasons. It is because of disruptive technologies that are coming in. It is also coming in because of changing policy landscape as well. There has been a political will at some level to say that we want to serve everyone the basic need, that's electricity. I think that's the government of India's initiative on supplying power to all is great. I think it's basically saying that there will be an electricity connection to every household. What does it mean? It basically means that it changes the entire energy landscape or the electricity landscape in this country. That you will have a wired connection in each and every household, if not 100%, maybe 80, 90 or 95%. I think they're still somewhere hovering about 85%. But the challenge is that whether electricity will actually flow through those wires. And somebody was asking me a question while I was at the airport, and we were discussing something about energy, and he said, what will happen to the DRE system, the decentralized energy systems, if there is a wired connection in every household, whether DRE systems will disappear? And that was a very interesting question, but I think my view as a student of energy sector, I can tell you that if you have more centralized system supplying power to the last mile, it becomes very, very inefficient. There are higher technical and commercial losses as you move towards the last mile. So what is the solution? The solution is that you are making huge amount of investment in the distribution sector. In India, if you look at the power systems, you can categorize them into three parts. It's generation, transmission, and distribution. The generation has been quite good. The transmission is the state of the art. Where's the problem? The problem comes in from the distribution sector. The distribution has so much of political economy associated with that, it remains challenging to serve power to the last mile. So what is the solution to supply power to 240 million or 250 million people when the government of India is saying that they will put a wire in individual houses? I think this infrastructure will come in, but whether the electricity will flow remains a question mark. And the answer to that question probably lies in the DRE systems, the decentralized energy systems. The electricity that is generated close to the consumption is the answer to the question. And that is where there is a need for a new business model. There's a need for new entrepreneurs to come in and demonstrate that they can supply power to household at a much cheaper cost. I think even if the electricity is provided to people, I think it is not going to be reliable and I would say cost effective. What we need today is a cost effective power and a reliable power. If you look at the GDP loss because of the reliability issues, about 2% of the GDP is just because of the reliability. So I think what we are looking at this point in time is, with this changing landscape that is coming in the energy sector, how do we take this opportunity and create more entrepreneurs? And for that, there's a need for out-of-box thinking. And when we are looking at out-of-box thinking, there is a need for something like a startup. What Ajay, you are doing, I think it's great. When this project, I manage a large power sector program called the Power Sector Reform Program, which is a £15 million program, and it is primarily focused on bringing in the fundamental change the sector operates, looking at the regulatory issues, looking at creating more power markets, creating how do you make renewable energy get integrated into the grid, and looking at how do you provide 24/7 electricity to people. These are the challenges within the program, but when the power came to our attention at some point in time, it did not fit within the overall framework of the program. But we thought, if we are not looking at power as the part of the program, I think we are missing something. Women forms a very important part of this ecosystem that we are looking at. We strongly believe that DRE is an answer for a long-term sustainability of the power systems. Although at this point in time, you go and talk to anybody in the government and say that we are trying to promote DRE systems, they would not believe it, because they would say that we are anyway providing power to everyone. But then we all know that the centralized systems will not be able to do it because it's inefficient. They will make more losses. You have another UDAY program coming in no time. UDAY program is Government of India's flagship program to basically help restructure the power utilities, the ones that supply power. So we are looking at another UDAY program in next few years unless we recognize the fact that DRE forms an integral part of the system. Talking about disruptive technologies, the disruptive technology solar home system or solar rooftop system is kind of a big disruption in this energy market. What will happen? You will find over a period of time, as the solar rooftop system becomes cheaper than the electricity that is provided by the grid, the market is a big force. It will start replacing the grid power. So what we have done at this point in time to test something very unique in the state of Andhra Pradesh, what we are trying to do is to look at how can you provide electricity security to the last mile, those who are at the bottom of the pyramid. Is there a possibility of doing it through a solar home system? We also realized the fact that the energy utilities, the moment you talk about solar home system, they feel uncomfortable because that takes away their most lucrative customers away. So they want them to keep within their system, and they want to get away with these, with their most lucrative consumers. So we looked at where is the opportunity. We realized that there is a great opportunity at the last mile because the distribution companies, they provide huge subsidies to the last miles when they are supplying power. There's a huge subsidy element associated with that, but still they don't get electricity. That's the reality. So how can you resolve this problem? So what we said is that, okay, if you can take these last mile off the grid, but basically supply them power only at the night time, but during the daytime when the sun is available, if you can help them to procure this equipment, the entire solar home system, if you can subsidize that, is that possible? They were very happy with that because our financial calculations showed us that with 7,000 households, they save about 12 crore rupees per month, per year. And they were very happy with that because with the subsidy that they were providing to the last mile, they can use that money to basically provide subsidy for the solar home system. So we created a win-win situation where there's a DISCOM which is happy. The consumers ultimately pay some amount of money in terms of EMIs for that system to those who are financing it, but that's electricity bill is less than what they are already, the EMIs is less than what they are already paying for the electricity. It created a win-win situation. I think that segment itself is so huge within this country that you can use this disruptive technology to serve 24/7 electricity. So that's an example of an enterprise model. And where does the women come in this entire picture? I think somebody wrote on my notes saying that according to an estimate, women entrepreneurs can demonstrate more than twice the level of business capacity and success compared to men. I don't know whether that's true or not. If that's the case, they have a unique space within this entire system. So talking about the power more specifically, I'm really happy to be part of this initiative. Thank you to Shell Foundation. They decided to partner with us on this very unique I remember meeting Anuradha when I was working with Asian Development Bank, and my roles after that. I was always wanted to do this, but I never found an opportunity to do anything on the women enterprise development. But I think when this proposal came in from you, and I think last year, it sounded very interesting to us, and we somehow managed to get that within the program. But having said that, I think this particular platform, especially with startups, I think it has a much broad-based support, not only from the ministries, that is the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, but also from the state governments. They are looking at how do we promote women entrepreneurship, but whether in the energy sector or not is a big question mark, because the political narrative at this point in time is slightly different, as I explained. So there will be challenges as we will move forward, but I think the answer lies that how do we best utilize the disruptive technologies that are coming in and create more business models. There are several more business models that we have developed, but how do we create entrepreneurs taking these proven business models from the ground and do it at a massive scale. And as you know that we are looking at 40 gigawatts of solar rooftop systems by the year 2030. That's a massive target. Where we stand today is 2 gigawatts. Going to 40 gigawatts by 2030 is a huge opportunity, and it throws the opportunity for everyone. I think women entrepreneurs can emerge from this particular opportunity in itself. Somebody has thrown a figure saying that women participation in the energy sector is like 6%, and it's all because these are centralized systems. The moment you make them decentralized in nature, I think